Will be my last time, I think.
Maharaj, you got a
Pretty
cushion?
sure.
You
She
got
also
a
said
cushion?
that.
We'll see how it goes, Anjali,
You
yeah.
belong here with us.
You can't go anywhere.
Last but not
Not
least.
going anywhere.
Last but not least, exactly. Yeah, thank you. Did you finish your reading?
I believe we did, Anjali,
I left my phone.
Switch on for both. Are you sure?
I left my.
So who's taking control here? What's next? Who's in control?
Nitai is in control.
Yeah. What's he,
Nityananda Prabhu.
who's channeling this eye?
Sir, Maharaj is.
Who's channeling?
We'll choose another bhajan in Hare Krishna, then,
Yeah.
and then we'll read
Yeah.
something.
Maharaj, you
So
please
which
sing.
one?
Being broadcast around the world, Maharaj, yes or
I
no?
haven't switched it on yet. I'll take it
I'm happy
You
to.
had a tune bit in it. Oh, only.
It's also
Do you know that song, Maharaj? Dayani Chaitanya Bolena Chiramama?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know kind of a bit.
It's a bit difficult, huh?
You know the one on page 124? Do you know how the tune of that goes? Nitai Guna Mani Aman. Nitai
Yeah.
Huh?
It's like Nitai Guna Mani Ama, Nitai Guna Mani, Mani Appareance.
I'll
That's
try.
the only one I know.
Shall I try and do it?
Yeah, you know that.
Never done it. Oh. Nitai Guna Mani Amar, Nitai Guna Mani. 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 Mani apne mera bhanya bhashala bani. Mani apne mera bhanya bhashala bani. Prema bandalai nitai aila gota deshe. 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 Bilo bhakta mana dina ina bhashe. Bilo bhakta mana dina ina bhashe. Ina ina patita pamara nahi bhaje. 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 Amara dulama prema shama kare jaje. Amara dulama prema shama kare jaje. Amada karuna sindhu patiya mohana. Amada karuna sindhu patiya mohana. Amada karuna sindhu patiya mohana. Hare Hare Bole Prema Ami Jarumana. Hare Hare Bole Prema Ami Jarumana. Chanmule no Nitai Jivana Vajilo. Niya Shuniya Se Atma Bhakti Hoelo. Nitai Guna Mani Amma Nitai Guna Mani. Ani apne mera banda bhashala bani. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Nityananda Prabhu Abhirbhava Mahotsav ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. On the basis of Nityananda Prabhu's, you know, for the people, so we all chant together. Populist.
Sripad, Bhakti, Chaitanya, Sripad, Bhakti, Svarup, Tridandi Swami, Jai.
So today, appearance day of Nityananda Prabhu, obviously coming before the appearance of Lord Garanga, being the elder brother. Balaram, right, elder brother of Krishna. I mean, that's explaining it in human terms, elder brother, expansion, first expansion of the Lord for service. So the whole spiritual domain is maintained by Baladev, Sankarshan. It's called a Sandini potency, Sandini Shakti, potency of maintaining. So therefore everything that is part of the paraphernalia of spiritual environment is expansion of Baladev, you see, for the service of the Lord. So sometimes it's called the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead also. So, it's reading from the...
I love the fish lying on there.
Yes, supporting everything. Supporting everything, yeah. So that's why support as Gurudev, you know, supporting the spiritual life, the foundation. It's very, very good. Nityananda Prabhu gives that strong, deep foundation, without which the any structure that's built on that through sadhana practice, it can't stand unless it has a strong foundation of Balaram, Nityananda, Gurudev. You know, so. Yeah. This is about, in the reading from the Gold Volcano of Divine Love by Sripad Maharaj. It's on page 60. Yeah. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu distributed special mercy through his most magnanimous canvassing agent, Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Nityananda Prabhu won't allow even those who want to avoid Krishna consciousness to escape. If someone says, "I don't want it," Nityananda Prabhu won't allow it. He'll say, "No, you must want it. I request you earnestly, take it. Use it, and you will be able to feel the value of Krishna consciousness. To capture the market, a clever merchant may distribute free samples of his product to his customers, saying, "Take one free. There's no question of paying any price now. I'm giving this away. Use it, and if you feel the value, the utility of my product, buy it." And then afterwards, everyone will purchase. In a similar way, Nityananda Prabhu travelled throughout Bengal, making his humble appeal. Nityananda Prabhu would knock at the door and fall at the feet of his customers, crying, "Please accept this. Don't dismiss me. Don't drive me away. Please do what I say. Give all your attention to Gauranga, and you'll be benefited beyond expectation. This is my request to you." He would shed tears, roll at their door, and say, "You are reluctant to accept this, but have no doubts. I implore you, take it. Believe me. Please accept Gauranga." In this way, Nityananda Prabhu used to wander down both sides of the Ganges, roaming here and there and preaching about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nityananda Prabhu knows only Gauranga. He is represented in Krishna Lila as Baladev. Baladev apparently performed the Rasa Lila, but at heart was only arranging Rasa Lila for Krishna. His nature shows the experts of devotion that he is always dedicated to Krishna. Otherwise he would not be Baladev. He has no individual thoughts for his own enjoyment. Every atom of his body is always eager to make arrangements for the enjoyment of Krishna. In a similar way, every atom of the body of Nityananda Prabhu is conscious transcendental substance. And every atom of his body is meant only for the service and satisfaction of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One day, Mahaprabhu's mother, Sachi Devi, had a dream that Krishna and Balaram were on a throne, and Nityananda Prabhu was addressing Baladev, "Come down from your throne. Your days are over. Now my Lord Gauranga will be installed." Baladev refused. "No, I have my Lord, Krishna." There was a fight, but Nityananda Prabhu was stronger, and he took Baladev down from the throne, saying, "Your day has gone. Now the time for my master Gauranga has come. You are a trespasser, a usurper. You must come down." And Baladev could not defeat Nityananda, who took him down from the throne. This is the nature of Nityananda Prabhu's relationship with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He has nothing of his own. He is everything is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. As Baladev is to Krishna, Nityananda Prabhu is to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The aim of Srimad Mahaprabhu's descent was to distribute the devotional service of Vrindavan most generously. On the other hand, Nityananda Prabhu used to sing, "Bhaja Gauranga Kaha Gauranga Laha Gaurangenam Jai Jana Gauranga Bhaje Se Amara Pran." Worship Gauranga, speak of Gauranga, chant Gauranga's name. Whoever worships Sri Gauranga is my life and soul. Nityananda Prabhu tried his best to make the people at large accept Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. What did he say? "Come straight to the campaign of Sri Chaitanya, and you will safely attain Vrindavan." As in the song we sang, Narottam Thakur, Nitayar, Nitayar? No. Yeah. Yeah. Nitayar Karuna Habe, Krishna Pabe, yeah. Without the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, Raji, Radha, Krishna Pabe, you can't get the service of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan. Okay, so then he's talking about the Gaura Lila and Krishna Lila being on the same level, one being Krishna enjoying his pastimes and then is distributing. The Gaura Lila is for distribution. But we shouldn't think one is higher than the other, right? To relish and to distribute, you know. Although from the point of view of the people, the fallen conditioned souls, we will say that to distribute is higher in that sense. But from the absolute point of view, there's no difference. But so for us, for conditioned souls, then it's very, Nityananda Prabhu, very important. And Kaviraj Goswami says in his verse in Madhya Lila, there's no doubt we find the highest nectarine taste of rasa in Krishna Lila. That's the verse. Krishna Lila Amrit Sar, the Amrit, the nectar of Krishna Lila Sara, that's the best. Like we say, a connoisseur, will taste different wines, mundane example. It's very subtle, the difference, but he will know, connoisseur will know, smelling, tasting, this is the best, the best of the best. Like that. So, Krishna Lilamrita Sar, of all the pastimes of the Lord, so many expansions, incarnations, etc., Krishna Lila the best, Tara Shata Shata Dhara, and that Lila is flowing in hundreds of streams. Dhara means a current, Shata Shata, hundreds and hundreds. Dashadike Bahe Jaha Hoite, say Chaitanya Lila Hoy. Now, what is Chaitanya Lila? That is the collection of all the wonderful tastes of the rasa, of Krishna consciousness, coming out in hundreds of streams and then mixing together, coming together in a lake of Chaitanya Lila. Saravara Akshai. This is a completely inconceivable ocean of nectar in the Gaura Lila. Manahamsa Charaha Tahaiti. May your mind, Manahamsa, your mind is like a swan. It should be like a swan, right? Not like a crow. Crows going to dirty places. The crows attracted by like magpies and crows, the carrion group, They see like glittery things, bit of silver paper, and they go for that, It's glittering, it looks nice, but actually it's worthless things. So don't be like the crow, but going on the rubbish heap, but like the swan is always going in the clear lakes, clear, pure water. So, so naturally then, tasting the nectar of Gaura Lila, that's giving you a portal into Krishna Lila, very clearly, very directly, and very safely also. So, our highest aspiration is to achieve the service of Srimati Radharani, but in the beginning, we must approach Sri Nityananda Prabhu through his manifest representation, the Guru. Nityananda Prabhu consolidates the foundation which helps us progress further in devotion. Quick progress without a good foundation invites a negative reaction, so the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu is our primary necessity. So that negative reaction can come in different ways, right? Go to Mayavad, go to Sahaja line, go to sense gratification, so many things. So we must have the foundation. And this approach culminates in the service of Srimati Radharani. Nitayar Karuna Habe, Prajay Radha Krishna Pabe. By the grace of Nityananda Prabhu, we develop our attraction for Sri Gauranga. If we receive the grace of Sri Gauranga, we receive everything in the highest degree, and that is the safest way to approach Radha Govinda. If we try to achieve Radha Govinda in some other way, our attempt will naturally be artificial and defective. If we approach Radha Govinda directly, avoiding Sri Gauranga, there will be great difficulty. So those who try to do that, approach Radha and Krishna directly, they're ignoring the fact about that it's Kali Yuga and that everything about the nature of this age and etc. And that the importance of approaching in this way. This is what Gaudiya Vaishnavism is all about, of course, So we should invest all our energy in the service of Gauranga. Then we will automatically find ourselves being lifted towards the highest level. He quotes from Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur. Investment in Navadvip Dhan, Gauranga, his Leela, will automatically take one to Vrindavan. How one has been carried there will be unknown to him. But those who have good fortune invest everything in the service of Gauranga. If they do that, they will find that everything has automatically been offered to the divine feet of Srimati Radharani. She will accept them in her confidential service and give them engagement. Oh, you have a good recommendation from Navadvip. I immediately appoint you to this service. Nityananda Prabhu's mercy sometimes exceeds the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because it may create a bad precedent, Mahaprabhu sometimes cannot accept certain fallen souls. He has to consider their status as well as other things. You know, the example of Chaitanya Charitamrita of Krishna Das, the servant, when Mahaprabhu came back from his tour and he dismissed him because he got seduced by the Bhattatari, beautiful gypsy women, and then, but he was engaged by Nityananda Prabhu then. Yeah, got a good service there to go to Navadvip and give news about Mahaprabhu to Mother Sachi. How is he? He's getting his food, he's getting this, he's good, you know, like this. She was always worried about that. So, even in the extreme case of, you know, not being able to, Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu will be there. And there's many examples of that. So also the Gurudev's extension, his Vaibhav, through the collective, the devotee community, those who are sincere disciples of Gurudev, then they're also, you could say, manifestations of the mercy of Gurudev, Nityananda. So even in that case, like for example, we had the Bon Maharaj, you know, the original Bon Maharaj, disciple of Saraswati Thakur, a great soul, such a great soul. But in the pastimes of Guru Leela, you know, he did some offence to Saraswati Thakur, and then Saraswati Thakur left the planet before he was able to apologise or make amends or something like that. So he was very distressed, and he was going to fast to death. And I heard he put himself on a raft in the middle of the Ganga, chained himself to a raft under the hot sun. He probably would just die, you know, eventually. But the devotees took him in. No, you have done so much service for Gurudev, and, you know, they helped him, encouraged him. So, like, it's an example. But so Nityananda Prabhu's mercy doesn't care for any unfavourable circumstances. His mercy is very lavish and almost blind. He doesn't discriminate between different degrees of sinners. His mercy is all-embracing. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cannot dismiss his recommendation. So it's like that, isn't it? If there's someone you love very, very much, so you might have a feeling about something in a particular way. Oh, this one is okay, but this one I don't like. But that person said, no, you must take that, accept that person. And if you love that person, okay, you'll have to do it, isn't it? Like, so the same. Mahaprabhu cannot dismiss the recommendation of Nityananda Prabhu. The grace of Nityananda is the greatest both in magnitude and circumference. As like saying quality and quantity is another way. And that is our solace, for by his mercy even the most fallen souls can attain the supreme goal. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu once told his followers, even if Nityananda Prabhu is found with a fallen girl of the lowest kind drinking wine in a wine shop, still you should know that he is above all these things. Although you may find him apparently engaged in lower activities, he is never implicated. He may appear connected with so many fallen activities, but you should know that he is always revered by the creator of the universe, Lord Brahma, and other exalted devotees. Nityananda Prabhu's mercy is so powerful that if one simply takes a piece of his loincloth and wears it respectfully on his body, he'll be saved from all the disturbances of the mundane senses. Therefore we pray, may my mind always stick to his holy feet. I offer my obeisances to Nityananda Prabhu. We must bow down to Nityananda Prabhu. Mahaprabhu ordered Nityananda Prabhu, go to Bengal and try to deliver them. Give them divine love for Radha and Krishna. Yeah, because as Guru Maharaj said, the Bengalis are a hard nut to crack, right, supposedly. Just their nature, very philosophically minded, but that can go different ways, to so many trains of thought. So for them, Nityananda Prabhu, Mahaprabhu considered only he can bring them to Krishna, real Krishna consciousness. So he ordered Nityananda Prabhu to distribute divine love for Radha Govinda. But instead, Nityananda began to preach about Sri Gauranga. He thought, it'll be better for them to worship Gauranga. That will help free them from their offences in their present condition. And by doing so, they will automatically achieve a position in Radha Govinda Leela. He was ordered to preach the name of Krishna, but instead began to preach the name of Gauranga. So for our own welfare, we bow down to Nityananda Prabhu with all our humility. O Nityananda Prabhu, O Gurudev, please give me a drop of firm faith in Sri Gauranga, who is Radha Govinda combined, tasting the sweetness of the divine nectar of the pastimes of Vrindavan. Give me a drop of faith so that one day I may attain divine love and enter into that domain. So our Guru Maharaj is saying, Doil Natai, Doil Natai, Doil Natai. Especially after he'd been talking or at least, touching on some higher leelas in the conversation, discussion. He wouldn't say so much, but if the points came up, he might give some reference from some book of the Goswamis and then talking about that. And then after that he's going, Doil Natai, Nitai Gauranga Nitai. Like protection, save me, give protection, give shelter. And they say when he left the world, he's not telling Hare Krishna, he's Doil Natai, Doil Natai. Like Haridas Thakur, right? He also, in whole life he's doing 3 lakhs Naam, right? Hare Krishna mantra. When he's leaving, he's looking on the lotus face of Mahaprabhu, holding his lotus feet on his chest, and he's going, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And left his body like a great yogi. And Mahaprabhu danced with his body, which was extraordinary. I always think because, especially as mentioned here, that Mahaprabhu, as being from a high Brahmin family on both sides of his family parents, so he was already despised by the smarter Brahmin community in Navadvip for his preaching Harinam openly to the masses. And bringing it out, saying everybody in their soul is equally a child of God and loved by God and a lover of God, and chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra without any distinction of caste, creed, colour, religion, etc. So they hated him for that, and they tried to drive him out and beat him and many things. But like he said here, even he had sometimes some discrimination that way, just from his own, like we see Guru Maharaj also, his own inner samskar as a Bhattacharya Brahmin like that. Some feeling, some preference like this in the life. Even he's told when his friend was very much trying to encourage him to come to the Gaudiya Mat and meet Saraswati Thakur, and he said in the beginning, he's Kayasht, that's like Vaishya, lower caste. So I had some reluctance in the beginning. But then when I saw him, then saw him, heard him, I realized he's a Vaikuntha man. He's nothing to do with this material world, A soul descended from divinity. They say a ray of Vishnu. From book, devotee wrote a book, Rupa Vilas, Ray of Vishnu. So he danced with the body of Haridas Thakur, Mahaprabhu, a so-called Malecha, or from Malecha family, completely Haridas Thakur. And he's, so... if we neglect Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, our aspiration to serve Radha Govinda will be a dream, an abstract imagination without reality. Nityananda Prabhu is the refuge of all fallen souls. He is the most generous-hearted aspect of Guru Tattva. We must bow down our head to him, accept his holy feet, and surrender to him. So already Guru Tattva is an inconceivable, they say there's 4 tattvas, right? Inconceivable, Harinam, Nam Tattva, Dham Tattva. How the Dham, the holy Dham, is non-different from, Vrindavan, Navadvip, like that. But it looks like a village in India, The Nam Tattva is non-different from the Lord. Abhina, Nama, Namina, the name and the possessor of the name, no difference at all. Okay, Nam Tattva. And Shiv Tattva, position of Shiva, neither Jiva, neither Bhagavan exactly, his own particular position, and then Guru Tattva. So that's already inconceivable how Shakshad Haditvena Shamasta Shastra, he's a non-different form of the Lord, as the most confidential servitor of the Lord and a manifestation of the Lord himself. Just like Baladev, right? He's Krishna, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead and also Supreme Personality of Servitor of Godhead. So and Nityananda Prabhu, you see an example with Advaita Acharya, they're having a rasa, because Advaita Acharya, again, he's a high Brahmin from Shantipur, and then he's with Nityananda, they're always sparring, and he's telling, we don't even know where you're from, who's your family, what's your caste, where you're just an unknown person, and he's like playing with him like this. So this is an aspect of the Lord, okay? Advaita Acharya also, Mahavishnu Jagat Karta, the other day we were telling the ontological position of Advaita Acharya. So he's, considered the Lord's incarnation, and Nityananda Prabhu, expansion. So Gauranga, Krishna, or Gauranga, expansion Baladev, Nityananda, incarnation, Advaita, Mahavishnu, calling the Lord down.
Mahavishnu, is it the one, the very first one? Because there's Gargoda.
Yeah, all of them. He's Mahavishnu. It's called another name is Karana Dakashai Vishnu, because of the Karana ocean, means the causal ocean where everything, the source of the material worlds. Yeah, and their expansions, Garbhodakshai, Kshirodakshai, Super Soul.
And Advaita Acharya, he's considered as a Mahavishnu, but the Mahavishnu, the primary one from force of whose body the universe is manifest, or inside from whose level.
Actually, if you read it's explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he's a particular manifestation of Mahavishnu. Yes, correct. More to look at it more finely, but exactly how that is, you'll have to read it there in that chapter, in the first part of the chapter. In the spiritual realm of Vaikuntha, Nityananda Prabhu is represented as yes.
Ananga Manjari.
Hare Krishna. Okay. No, not going. But Sankarshan. Yeah.
Sure.
Let's stick with that at the moment. The Supreme Lord, who is considered to be the foundation of everything in existence, all possible existence is maintained by his energy. That's spiritual and material, okay? Like Srila Prabhupada said, the planets, these huge masses of matter floating in space, sustained by Baladev. The energy, imagine, and that's the material Shakti force, Then he's the Sandhini Shakti in the spiritual, maintaining everything. So everything there that's for the service of the Lord in environment is manifestation of Baladev, Sankarshan. All possible existence is maintained by his energy. Nityananda Prabhu is the original Baladev, the personality of Godhead. Therefore, we should view the pastimes of Nityananda Prabhu with full consciousness of his dignified position. Although he used to roam about here and there, rolling in the dust with tears in his eyes, saying, "Take the name of Gauranga and I'll be sold to you." So, generally that's not considered very dignified, rolling around on the ground, shouting, like, what is this behavior, right? But, that's pastimes, and so much dedicated to Gauranga, to bring the souls to Gauranga. Although he posed in this lower position, still he should be considered in light of his actual dignified position. We must surrender to him with that attitude. Balaram is represented in different parts of the spiritual world, in different aspects. He came here as Nityananda Prabhu with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the truth of Nityananda Prabhu explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat. So they're posing in that way. He's coming as the younger brother of Gauranga and enjoying his pastimes. But Nityananda Prabhu, although one with Baladev, is greater than him. Why?
Distribution.
Because, yes, he's distributing divine love. If we conceive that Krishna is subordinate to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then of course Balaram is subordinate to Nityananda Prabhu. In all other respects, the two of them are similar, but when magnanimity is added to Balaram, he becomes Nityananda Prabhu. So Nityananda Balaram is superior to Karanadakshay Vishnu, the supersoul of the collective universes. Garbhadakashay Vishnu, the supersoul of this universe, each individual universe, and Kshirodakashay Vishnu, the supersoul of all living beings. And that Balaram has come here as Nityananda Prabhu, not with majesty, grandeur or power, but in a human form to distribute divine love. And he's the giver of Gauranga. His greatness is proved by this fact. Nityananda Prabhu was born in, and there he passed his early life. His parents, friends and neighbours were filled with ecstatic joy, being pleased with his sweet infant pastimes. From his birth he was a pleasure to the whole atmosphere of Ekachakra, and in this joyful atmosphere he passed his childhood years. One day, while Nityananda was still young, a sannyasi came to his home and begged him from his parents. The sannyasi was roaming about to different holy places, and he prayed for Nityananda as his alms. He took him in his company, and Nityananda Prabhu wandered about almost all the holy places, following that sannyasi. It is said that the sannyasi was Madhavendra Puri. Then one day, from within, feeling ecstasy in his heart, Nityananda Prabhu could understand that Sri Gauranga had begun his pastimes of Sankirtan in Navadvip. And with that inspiration, he came to Navadvip Dham. And that day, Mahaprabhu told his followers, "I had a dream that an extraordinary great man in a chariot marked with the palm tree flag of Balaram came to my door and said, Where is the house of Nimai Pandit? Twice, thrice, 4 times, again and again, he kept saying, where is the house of Nimai Pandit? Mahaprabhu continued, that great personage must have come last night to Navadip. Try to search him out. They searched and searched, but they couldn't find him anywhere. Then Mahaprabhu told them, let me try. He took them straight to the home of something Acharya. Nandanacharya, yes. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with his followers suddenly arrived there, they found Nityananda Prabhu sitting on the veranda. After seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu stared intently at him for some time, became absorbed in him and fainted. In this way, in one day, he became the most intimate associate of Sriman Mahaprabhu. So it's extraordinary if you think, the pastimes, all of this, coming from the spiritual world, Mahavishnu, Krishna, Balaram, they're coming in the material world. Such a very dense and low vibration in the material world. But when they come, of course, as they because their super high transcendental frequency is like clearing, pushing out the lower vibration. So they're in them and surrounding them is this complete spiritual energy. They're not affected by the things, apparently, sometimes. So.
In Mahaprabhu's family, he had a brother, Svarup, which was the older brother.
Yes.
I was wondering, is there any connection of Svarup with Balaram?
Yeah, he'd be considered expansion. Baladev, like similarly you have like Ram, Lakshman, Shatrugna, Bharat. His expansions, like Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshai, Kshirodakshai, the expansion of expansion, but the same essential, same energy, same potency and same function. And some people have wrong ideas, right, about Nityananda Prabhu. Like he gave that example with the girl in the wine shop and everything, because externally his activities as avadut sometimes were extraordinary. So once Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a secret talk with Nityananda Prabhu in Jagannath Puri. When Nityananda Prabhu went to Bengal and married, some say that Mahaprabhu asked him to marry. It is our opinion that the so-called high-class people were so much charged with vanity, Nityananda Prabhu was asked to approach the masses. Because he was ordered to mix with them very familiarly for his preaching purposes, it was found necessary for him to marry. Otherwise, if he were to have mixed very familiarly with family men, accusations may have been levelled at his standard of renunciation. And to further that purpose, he married. He had to adopt that policy and accept that attitude. And he may have been told to do so by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was not his own decision. Of course, marrying or not marrying was nothing to him. How he came in contact with his eternal consort Janava Devi is described in the Bhakti Ratnakara. It appears that when he was preaching all around Bengal, he preached at the house of Janava Devi's father, something Pandit. I'll give a clue. Its name is related to the Lord shining in the sky in the daytime, not in the nighttime. Surya Das Pandit. Yeah. And he was the brother of Gauri Das Pandit, who was already a follower of Gaura Nityananda. Surya Das gave him intimate help in his propaganda work, as his house was a good base. And Surya Das, who had 2 daughters, offered Nityananda Prabhu his daughter in marriage. Ultimately, Srila Nityananda Prabhu and Srimati Janava Devi are eternally associated, and although their marriage apparently took place out of necessity, it was actually part of their eternal Leela. Of course, some so-called sannyasis take advantage of this to give up their vows of celibacy and marry. They give the marriage of Nityananda as an excuse. But it's not a proven fact that Nityananda Prabhu was a sannyasi. Actually, the name Nityananda is a brahmachari name. Anand is a suffix added to the name of a brahmachari. Like Anand, Svarup, Prakash, and Chaitanya are different types of brahmachari names. The name Anand is also found in the sannyas order of life, but we find no sannyas title mentioned for Nityananda Prabhu. There's no mention anywhere also of a sannyas guru for Nityananda Prabhu, although we know his Diksha guru was Madhavendra Puri, the guru of Advaita Prabhu and Ishwar Puri. Nityananda is known as an avadut. Avadut means...
Not particular about his practices.
Oh, you've read it. Yes, that's the exact wording.
Is that wording?
Yeah. It doesn't mean a sannyasi, but one who is not very particular about his external practices and sometimes does things which should not be done. When an exalted person is seen engaging in lower practices, he's considered an avadut. It's understood that he's above that, but his practices are of a lower nature. Ava means lower, and duta means that he can either remove or purify. Nityananda Prabhu broke the single sannyas staff into 3. Yeah, he snatched it, right, from Mahaprabhu. Broke it into 3 and threw it in the Ganga. And this indicates that when taking sannyas, the renounced order of life, we should accept not 1 but 3 dandas, which symbolize the dedication of body, mind and words in the service of the Lord. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada was also inspired by this action of Nityananda Prabhu's to give Tridandi sannyas to his followers, in contrast to Ekadanda, which was formerly current in Bengal. Okay.
Maharaj, in that sannyas stick, is there 3 sticks?
And there's 4, there's one at the top as well, like that.
Yeah. And they're tied
together, yes. And there's different symbolisms of that, obviously 3 is like body, mind and words, and the jiva is the one on the top, and it's also representing Vishnu. They say the presence of the Purusha, like the Vishnu in the world, and I always wondered how they made that one on the bamboo, small one on the top, to be bent, and they boil it in water. So it bends, So there. So Nityananda Prabhu's approach was somewhat peculiar. His strategy was to uplift the most fallen. Like Napoleon, whose policy was to attack the strongest position of the opposing army, Nityananda Prabhu wanted to capture the most sinful. Yeah, that's Napoleon used to do that, right? He said if you take out the core, like the Republican Guard, or the kind of those who are surrounding the general, the inner group, then the whole army will be in disarray. So it's another example Guru gives, like putting the injection in the brain, the center point, in some central point of the nervous system in the brain. The whole body will be paralyzed. So in this way, Napoleon was a great general. He was a Republican, of course, and but he such a potency of a person like that, that they said if he was present in the battlefield personally, they couldn't lose. Impossible. The army. He was such a charismatic person. And when they captured him, the English captured him after Waterloo and that, they took him to London, and they wanted to make a mockery of him. You know, we've captured the great Napoleon Bonaparte. So they put him in a cage, like a thing on wheels, in London, in Whitehall, in the centre of London. So all the people walking past, it's like an animal in a cage. It's supposed to be very humiliating. But it didn't work because everyone was walking past. He was preaching to them. No, you should throw down the monarchy, become republic, you know. And it's like, oh no, he's really starting to create waves, and they had to take him away, you know. So some people like that, they can't be stopped. Generally, we think that a saint flies away from this world of Maya and goes to a solitary place where he can enter into a cave and engage himself in meditation. Indian saints generally preach, give up everything, go to a solitary place in the jungle, find a cave, and engage yourself in fully in understanding Godhead. But our Guru Maharaj was different. Like Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, he wanted to attack Maya, and like a great general, he declared totalitarian war on illusion and even all other existing conceptions of religion. Why is there this misunderstanding and misconception? He thought, everything belongs to Krishna. Ishavasyam idam sarvam. It is plain and simple and sweet. How can we think, this is for me, that is for him? Why should we let this misconception stand here at all, attack it, and crush the whole thing? He told us, Kirtan means to preach against misconception. As soldiers, you must go door to door and preach Krishna consciousness. And telling a lot about that. So that's just kind of talking about preaching there, the mood of Nityananda Prabhu. This was the same spirit with which Nityananda Prabhu canvassed the fallen souls of this world in his attempt to take them to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's it. Yes. That's today. And do you have any to say?
Yeah, when Lord Nityananda asked Balaram to come down from the
Oh, yes.
So, I mean, Balaram incarnated to Navadvip, because they're one and the same person.
Yes, that's right. Yes. So there, you see, in the spiritual domain, because it's the plane beyond duality, nirgun. So there's no duality. Duality is in the material world where you have the modes of nature. So then you have the polarity, good, bad, black, white, hot, cold, rich, poor. There's no such thing in the spiritual world. There's variety, but not duality, not material duality, you see. So therefore, the Godhead, Krishna, expanding himself as Baladev, and Balaram and Nityananda, how he can, in this way, be apparently fighting with himself. Yeah. So there's no limitation like here. Even the Jiva soul, when the Jiva soul, like conditioned soul, like ourselves, if the soul will go to the spiritual world, then his form is different, and his potency is different, and activity is different. And Gani Yasya Sakalendriya Brittimanti, like in Brahma Samhita, describing how Krishna, every limb can perform the action of every other limb. So if you say it in English language, it sounds a bit ridiculous. You say, Krishna can see with his ears and hear with his eyes. It's like, well, we can't really conceive of that because we're looking at it from our material filters, So it doesn't make sense. But the idea is like that. There's not that limitation where you have the duality where one thing has a certain function and not the other, and etc. So anything is possible. It's a Vaikuntha. It's a place without... One meaning of Vaikuntha is Srila Prabhupada used to translate it as a place of no suffering, but generally Guru Maharaj would tell place of no limitation, Vaikuntha. And actually, if you think about it, both of those things are kind of the same, because suffering is the source caused by limitation, right? Where there's limitation, there's suffering. So no limitation, no suffering. That's true even in the Brahman, mukti. What to speak of beyond that, in the spiritual plane of spiritual variety. So there's infinite variety, but no duality in the material sense. So therefore the soul has so many more powers there.
You mean, Maharaj, also limitation by resistance? Resistance to...
Resistance.
Yeah, to what is...
Resistance causes limitation. Resistance is futile. Yeah. Of course, yes, resistance is creating limitation, and where there's surrender, there's no resistance, isn't it? Like in electricity, when you have the resistor, and then the current flows, right? Okay, I don't know physics, Ramananda Prabhu is right. You know, right? You got positive and negative, and
The current.
for the current to flow, yes, something to do with resistance. Anyway, so no resistance, it means surrender, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And yet, within that, there is infinite prospect and possibility for individual work in dedication, not surrender, and lie down and just not, So actually, through the surrender, through the non-resistance of surrender, one's fullest potential can be manifest, not before that. So this so-called individuality and everything in the material side is all really a false thing, It's very reactionary. So that our full potential is only will be manifest and recognized and can be utilized after that stage. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. Okay, in the stage of Brahman, where there's full happiness, Prasanatma, na sochati, na kanchati. There's no duality, there's no hatred of something, or love for something else. You could call it attachment and aversion, love, hate. And Krishna says in the Gita, everyone is born into this world overcome by the duality of desire and hate. It's the world of duality. But that when the child comes to the age of so-called reason, around 7, actually before that, they're kind of living in more a world of oneness, without discrimination. So everything is beautiful, miraculous, fantastic, or they're very spontaneous. Happy, they laugh, sad, they cry, just very spontaneous. As William Wordsworth in his poem, he said, we come into this world trailing clouds of glory. So that sense of the non-polarized world, non-pure world, comes with us. But when the child gets to the age of reason, that's a good thing in one way. It's supposed to be a good thing because it creates the boundaries between oneself and others. And that's necessary to survive, to exist in the material world, that ego, right? So before that, it's not like that. They're just very free, moving. And, like if you show a book to a child's book, like a zoo book, this is a zebra. How did it know it's a zebra? Because it's not a giraffe. It's duality straight away, It's not a giraffe because it's not a tiger. That's something else. So everything gets separated out. So that's necessary, but it has a downside as well. Because then you're identifying with the material side so much. I like this, and this is good. I don't like this is bad, and all of that. So,
for example, if you see this, the zebra and the giant,
yeah.
so how could you see it without?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's necessary. But before that, you're not thinking, you're seeing the zebra, you're seeing the giraffe, but you're not analysing it with that part of the brain, the right brain, saying, oh, because it's got this colour and its form is like this. Yeah, it's like a kind of a judgment, yeah. Judging it on many different levels, so...
On the ego, then the knowledge starts to appear like a capacity to analyze and put things in.
That's the age of reason, which is supposed to be so great. Yeah, the child's attained the age of reason. He can talk and walk and do all these things,
It's interesting analogy saying that...
Basically, it becomes conditioned by society and by people and by everything.
The Baladev, he is the one who helps the jiva to maintain its ego.
Sankoshan, yes.
So the reason why we perceive, as we mentioned, certain objects around the world, because we possess certain ego, which kind of like lets us see certain forms in pradhan. So Baladev is the one who helps to maintain that.
And that is necessary in the material world, because the ahamkara, the first covering of the false ego, sankoshan, that's the very subtlemost covering that comes over the soul. It's a very fine thing, but it's necessary for that to live, to operate in the material world,
So he's the one who is slowly withdrawing ego while jiva acquires more solid realization about spiritual things. So, because if it's removed straight away, the ego just...
Do you mean in a course of like spiritual development?
Yeah. Like so, it must work somehow together. The Baladev, he's maintaining the ego of the soul. It's like a shell which comes into form, but then slowly he kind of softens it and removes bit by bit while there's some revelation happens and the jiva becomes more...
They're both happening simultaneously, the removal of the negative and the induction of the positive. Kleshagni Shubhada. On one side, some positive coming in, that's the real ego, then, the inner self, inner person, he's sort of slowly manifesting. And then the other side, the false self being withdrawn, And so Guru Maharaj says our golden self will come out in its glory.
Inner realization, does it come through Paramatma?
Yes.
So the self-realization as a soul, so it means that they can work together. The Baladev is removing ego and realization of nature of self comes from...
Yes, because remember, Atma and Paramatma are so closely together, not even a hair you couldn't put even between them, So, and that's extraordinary in the revealed truth. There, Govinda Maharaj is saying this is inconceivable, how they're so close, and yet so far, apparently. In other words, how the soul can have gone so far into the negative side when it's so close to the Lord, like, you know what I mean? And that example of the two birds in the tree, and one bird is just busy in eating, the fruit. He's not noticing his friend is there all the time, All he has to do is turn around and see he's there, So how far, we've come from that. Never mind, Svarup Siddhi, Vastu Siddhi in the spiritual world, just even from soul self-realization, Atman to Paramatma. It's a long way, isn't it? They say it's the longest journey you'll ever take from the head to the heart.
Yeah, you said
that. It's true,
The jiva realization is almost automatic. If you follow a certain practice, it comes automatically, but the engagement in service in higher planes, that's up to the residents of the higher plane.
Correct, Certain things up to a certain level. Example is, Guru Maharaj, the passport and the visa. It's such a good example. And, the passport, you can get, anyone can get. It's like, do some yoga, some practice for self-realization, meditation, different things. And then that's like get your passport. Anyone can really qualify for a passport, assuming they're not mad or insane or they're a citizen of a country therefore they're qualified to have that passport. So, the equipment we've been given as human beings, enables us to get the passport. That's the realization, soul, self-realization, Atmagyan, yeah. Yes, but beyond that, a visa, you definitely. And the visa is given by the other side. It's not, you can't get it on this side. But that other side, they have representation near the embassy, Indian embassy, Swedish embassy, Spanish embassy, representing that country. So that's Gurudev, Guru Tattva, is here in this world. So that's, without going, through that world directly, you can connect with it through the embassy to get your visa, if you want a visa. And they can give the visa or refuse the visa. It's in their hand. So it's not like, well, if you just follow the steps, you get the visa automatically, like with the passport.
But isn't the passport also given by the mercy from that other?
Yeah, of course, everything is by mercy. Just breathing, walking, talking, everything. Of course, we're completely dependent on the mercy. Like if we stop breathing, right, a few minutes anyway, well, first you get brain damage and then you die, of course. Was it 4 minutes or 8 minutes without oxygen? Get brain damage. And then, so that's going on all the time. We're not aware of it. It's incredible, That's the mercy,
So many beings are involved in helping you to maintain this body, such as metabolism, heartbeat, lungs, liver,
digestion going on.
Processes, So many living entities are engaged in maintaining.
So this is the point. We're all completely interdependent in this world. So this whole idea, people saying to be independent, and it's just so ridiculous, It's like, breathing the air and the atoms and molecules, and that's been breathed by so many people. Like somebody said, we might be breathing air, molecules of air that were breathed by Jesus, or also by Hitler. What, right? So completely dependent on others for just the elements, water, air, etc. So then, what to speak of? So like Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, the ABC of religion can be understood or learned even without guidance, in the sense of a guru specifically. But for the higher things, you need guidance, because we know that you can only enter the spiritual world on the invitation and recommendation of a resident of that world in all the rasas, So in the higher stages of Smaran, they take shelter and go under the guidance of an eternal resident, like Sridham, Subal, if it's Sakya Rasa, or Gopis or Manjaris, or the Vatsalya group, etc. So that's the only way to enter there. Because just like anything, if you like, when we're preaching, meeting people, isn't it? Some devotee gives a book to someone, something, and then they come to the temple. They don't just drop out of space into the temple, It's through connection and invitation, and like that. So that's the visa thing, Otherwise, the foundation, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, that's, Krishna says, from that stage of self-realization, Mad Bhaktim Labhate Param, real devotional service to me begins from there. That's after Sarvadharman Parityajya, just the act of surrender, Prapana, Sharana, to surrender, and then there's something. You can't surrender without service, isn't it? What's the point of that? It's a surrender for something. Otherwise,
there must be somebody to receive the service.
Yes. Someone you're surrendering to.
Receiver of service. It's an exchange of love.
So anyway, Nityananda Prabhu, we're waiting. Are we waiting for him, or is he waiting for us?
1:30. Yeah, 1:30. Are you ready? Is it finished?
Okay, when? Okay, that's it.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Bhakti Svarup Tridandi Swami ki
Nityananda Prabhu Avibhar Mahotsav ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan